Mel, you know what time it is. Playoff time, heat checks back. This is the most fun time of the year. We've got our usual show planned out. We got me, we got Bomber, we got playoff matchups and predictions, we got folding chair scales. How we doing today, Bomber?
Oh, excited! We got I got D Muse here in about 3 hours, so ready to get this
Oh yeah,
started.
so we're getting this right in
Yep.
before game time for you. I'm still not sure if my opponent's even going to be able to play old Carney life.
Yeah, this might actually be our first one that we've gotten in before any games have played, so that'll be a positive for this cycle.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. We've been close a couple times, but there's always like one game that plays like right in advance.
Yep, and it generally works out where we get the game wrong because something happens.
Right.
So this will be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we can just be on record getting it wrong.
That's right. So let's go ahead and start off getting it wrong. So the first game, and we'll do like we've done every other one, where you pick the AFC games, and we'll go with your picks
Yep.
for that, and we'll go with my picks for
Yeah,
the
I think we
NFC.
actually every single cycle have to coordinate so that we're in opposite conferences just to make sure that
That's
this
right.
this stays the
So
way
we
that
can
it
make
is.
our picks. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So then we'll start with Prime and Bean. This is their third matchup. Not only their third matchup, but their third playoff matchup as well. Um,
Yep.
how do you see this one going?
I see this going probably exactly like how the other ones have gone. Beans is going to come out flying out of the gate. He's going to get a big lead. Um, Everybody's going to be like, oh, is this it? Is Beans finally going to get over the hump? And then he's going to do something crazy. He's going to throw a halfback pass or a halfback screen or a read option. It's going to give Prime the momentum back. Prime storms back. And then we hear about how great he is for the next, 2 hours.
Yeah, just ask him. He'll tell you. Um,
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go with Prime on the win after Beans gets out to a quick start.
yeah, I'm curious to see this game, and unfortunately, it plays the same time as mine, so I don't know how much of it I'll get to see.
Yeah.
Bean has seemed to be really sensitive about the freight train talk and people saying he's only winning because of freight train. And at some point, I wonder if he's just going to kind of embrace that and actually use freight train instead of when he needs a big play, dropping back with Goff or whoever Kent or whatever this guy's name was that just would kill him every time he'd do it. So I think
Yep.
this game maybe he rides Henry a little more, but I still don't think it's enough. And I think I agree with you. It's going to be Prime moving on.
Yeah, the problem with this, and I could see him getting away with it with a couple of the other matchups. But against you, against Prime, Freight Train's tough to just even get activated to begin
Yeah.
with. Trying to run against that line is just not a good time. If he gets it activated, maybe we see something different. But the chances of that happening quick enough to where it'll make a huge difference, I think, are too low.
Yeah, the problem is you need those 3 10-yard gains, and most of the good players aren't giving up 10. I mean, I've seen
Right.
it even with Chubb. Like, I'll get 8 and 9 every time.
Yep.
But that secondary closes in really fast, especially the user, and it's tough to get those 3 10s. But
Yeah,
so
100%.
so we got Prime moving on, and then that brings us to the next game, and that would be myself and D Muse. We played earlier in the season. That one didn't go very well for him. How do you see this one going?
This is I think actually my favorite round one matchup across the playoffs. This is two very good teams, two title contenders. You hate to see you guys play against each other in the first game, but I think it will make for a fun watch. I have this one tighter than your first game, but I still think you're going to win. The D Muse offense, we know what it is. The old drag Muse. It's just a little too predictable for a defense of your caliber. He's going to have a tough time running again, like we just made that point with Beans and Prime. And then I just don't know that Mac has the arm to really beat your secondary, and you can't just throw drags on your team all day.
Yeah.
It's going to get picked up. So I think this one's going to be closer. Obviously, D-Muse, he's a good playoff performer, but I still think you're gonna take the W on this one.
Yeah, I think Demius. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with Mac Jones might be his downfall in this one. He's accurate, but I do feel like my defense matches up well. He went the whole season with no interceptions up until we played, and then Mac Jones had four, and it only counted three because of the weird stat tracking on the one that fumbled at the goal line. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just feel like he's a good matchup for me. But saying that, he'll probably end up beating me. But we'll go with your we'll go with your choice, and that'll have me moving on. And then our last AFC first round game is Woods and Matt rematch from Week 18. Who do you got?
Woods always makes me feel bad for picking against him, and I hate picking against him. But this is not a great matchup. Um, Josh Allen, I mean, with him, all things are possible, but unfortunately, I think Matt is just going to be a little too much. Um, Matt's playing really well with that Jaguars team, and Woods has not quite figured out the Buffalo defense, which obviously is a bit of their downfall. So I'm gonna go Matt with 2 out of 3 of the wild card teams winning their first round games.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I'm going Matt as well. I think he's just playing too well right now, and
Yeah.
and I don't know. Woods actually beat me, and Matt hasn't beaten me all cycle, but um, I still think Matt's the better player, and so I'd agree with that. Him moving on, which means
Yep.
that makes for a very interesting second round. That would put me against QP as division rivals, and we're playing our third matchup, and then Prime would play Matt, and it would also be their third matchup. So we'll start with me and QP. Who do you have winning that one?
Yeah, well, the second round is half interesting, because we know exactly how the prime Matt game is going to
Yeah,
play out. We'll
I
get
think
to it in
so.
a second. You and Q though is a very interesting matchup. You're both playing very well. I've been very impressed by your football through the last third of the season. I think you're playing fantastic. Q obviously is trouble. We've seen how good he is. Um, the problem with these matchups is I then basically default when I think both players are pretty even. I pretty much default to the OP abilities.
Yep.
You both have one, but I think his is slightly more OP. And so I generally in those games I tend to go, if you have Escape Artist, I'll give you the nod, because I think that just has the potential to make those couple plays that kind of swing a game. It's the sack that turns into, a throwaway. It's the scramble in the goal line that turns from a sack to a touchdown. It's those little things that Escape Artists can impact so well. And again, I think Freight Train has a tough time getting activated against Q's run defense. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm excited for it, but I think I have to. I think I have to pick Q.
Yeah, talking about the abilities, I think that our last game probably is the best example of Escape Artist and Lamar Jackson being like the great equalizer that I can think of, because I felt like I outplayed him that game, start to finish, not even close. And I needed a field goal at the end to win it, because when he needed a big play, Lamar was able to take off
Yeah.
or get outside and throw down the field. I mean, it was, you just, even if you completely shut him down for 99% of the game, that 1% is going to be big plays.
Yep,
Or has
absolutely.
the potential to. So, yeah, I mean, you can't go against Q. He's the number one seed. He's got the most uh, electric player in the game, who's probably unstoppable for the most part. So,
Yeah.
I can definitely get behind that. All right, so then
Yeah,
that
and I mean,
leaves.
even with Escape Artist, he has the arm on top of it, which is just terrifying. We see the bombs to Hollywood. Your
Yep,
secondary is incredible, but it's hard to keep up with 96 throw power and 97 speed with Hollywood.
yep, and he's got plenty of time to wait around for it
Exactly,
too.
and when he needs to, he can buy the time to get that open.
Yep.
So it's just such a tough matchup that, I mean, you need everything to go right.
Yeah, I just played in our other league. I played against him, and I have the Ravens in that one, and got to use his Chargers with, he had Bosa and Mack and all these guys, J.C. Jackson, and it was unfair. Lamar is
Yeah.
just it's just unfair. So I can understand that pick. But then who's he going to play in the AFC Championship game? We got Prime against Matt. Do you think it's even going to be close?
Oh, I mean, I have a feeling that it's going to be close, and then somehow, some way, Prime's going to find a way to battle through adversity in the fourth quarter. The game is so tight, and Matt plays him so well. He gave it all he had, but he just couldn't pull
Yep.
it out against the GOAT. What a surprise.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. I think for the most part, this cycle probably Prime's just playing with his food. Um,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think maybe he lets Matt get away with one, or maybe one game kind of the ball starts bouncing Matt's way, and because Prime's taking it easy, it gets ugly in the other direction. And it's regular season, so he doesn't care. But I think for the most part this cycle, he's been playing with his food,
Yep.
just letting it stay close. And I don't think he risks that in the playoffs, and I think we'll see that kind of evident in the score. So I think QP Prime in the AFC Championship, just like you. What do you think? Who's moving on to the Super Bowl?
I'm probably going to hear about it. Getting made fun of a couple times, but I'm going Q this season. I think he's coming off a tough loss in the last playoff. But he's looked, unbelievable so far this season. I think he's focused again. He's determined again. Um, I think he's ready to prove that last cycle was kind of a, or not cycle, last season was a bit of a fluke. I think we're going to see Q win the close game, and he's back in the bowl for what, the third time this cycle? Fourth time? Third time?
Third time because he's 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll pick QP as well. He's got the better ability with Lamar.
Yep.
We saw Prime barely beat me on a field goal as time expired, and QP's that echelon higher. So I think he's gonna have trouble. And then Lamar Jackson, I think he's gonna come to play in the playoffs, and he'll make the big plays when he has to. So I'm gonna go with QP as well.
Yeah, all three of the big dogs in the AFC are coming in super hot. So I think it's going to be a very fun playoff. I think right now Q just has that slight edge over the rest.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move over to the NFC. Now that we've got QP in the Super Bowl again. NFC, we've got Clink versus Doink, DW against Paulie, and NYT against you. We'll start with Clink Doink, this one's tough for me because I think this is a bad matchup for Clink, but I'm gonna go with him. I think the defense will hang on. I'm just not a fan of his offense from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to hold him back, but I think against Doink, he'll be all right. So I'm going to take Clink over Doink.
Yeah, this game's kind of a tale of user defender versus user defender. One guy's got it down to a science, and the other guy is kind of running around with his head cut off. So I think it'll be fun to watch. The Bucks, obviously, a team advantage, offense advantage, but I think Doink is going to be the one to make a couple mistakes that sets Clink up with a short field that, then his offense isn't going to have to do quite as much work.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, kind of the opposite. I think the roster holds Clink back, and Doink holds the roster back in Tampa Bay. So
yeah, that's fair.
So I've got Clink actually advancing in this one, and that means game 2 would be DW against Paulie. I believe Paulie beat him twice during the regular season. So DW not the best record against him, but DW also is finishing out this season playing really well. And Paulie's playing the computer half the time. So I don't know. I think neither one of them really has great playoff history, but DW is going to be coming off a win against Dan. Now, whether you think Dan gave a full effort here or, he obviously didn't play his starters, but I don't think it matters. I think DW comes in with a little bit of confidence after that win, regardless of how he got it. And I think that's going to be enough. It's tough to beat a guy 3 times in a row, and I don't think Paulie's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, this is a game that I feel is a true toss-up. I would not be shocked for the outcome to end up either way. Paulie, I think DW is the better team, but DW doesn't match up very well against what Paulie does every play on defense. I know DW's had some issues beating it so far, so if Paulie's going to win this one, it's because DW really kind of shoots himself in the foot. I think DW probably has a better chance, though.
Yeah, I think so. And that defense is ridiculous.
They're insane. And with defensive line playing up like it has the past week or two, goodness.
Yeah, if that is a thing, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, for everybody.
So that leaves us the last game. It's you against NYT. For me, this is an easy one. I'm going to take you over NYT. NYT, especially in the playoffs, does not impress me. I haven't really seen him do anything outside of he had the one Super Bowl run. I would think it may have been even my first season in SML. And since then, outside of a NFC Championship game where I think it was QP beat him, just not really impressed. He's a 500 right around there player, and he's just been in a bad division every time the last 2 cycles.
Yeah,
I haven't really seen him have too much competition during the season. Woods was his top competition. Woods is having trouble with Mike, Fig, and KJ. I think when the playoffs come in, he's going to play you, and I think it's going to be a blowout. I know he's got every OP ability there is in the game, and I don't think it's going to matter. So I've got you winning that one fairly easily.
Yeah, we played in the first round last season, and it was not competitive. I would be shocked if it's like that again. You just look at the team. You've got everything you could want. He has Escape Artist. He has Gunslinger. He has Freight Train. He has Route Tech. He still has Chandler Jones, which is the only player in the game currently with edge threat.
Edge threat.
So he
There are a couple edge
literally,
threats.
yeah, like he literally has a legitimate mutt built roster. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to not win this one, but like you said, we haven't seen a whole lot from him. So I'm certainly not taking him lightly. Just because if I were to take him lightly, all those abilities, forget it, I'm screwed. But well, you make a lot of good points.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody. There may not be anybody in the SML you can just walk into and be like, I don't even need to think about this game. I'm just going to beat him.
Right.
Yeah. And
I don't know. Meats is
Yeah, I can't say anything this season.
Right there.
But I lost.
You didn't have to play him. You had to play the better
version. I had
version.
to play the computer. They would have got him in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know. I think with that roster, you definitely can't take him lightly. But I mean, to me, it's Super Bowl or bust. All we've heard is Freight Train's overpowered, and that's how the cycle started. Well, he's got that. Then it was Escape Artist is overpowered. Well, he's got that too. Gunslinger, he's got that too. I mean, everything you could want. If you were to hop on Mutt right now, your team probably couldn't look like his does because of the way they do the points. For abilities.
Yeah, you wouldn't have enough AP to be able to budget it all.
You probably have a better than a Mutt team, and if you don't win this first round and get to the Super Bowl with this team, then it just isn't happening. So that puts us where 1, 2, 3, and 5 advance in the NFC, which means we wouldn't get a Dan Faz NFC Championship game. We'd get it here in the second round.
Of course.
Man, that's a tough. Dan is struggling. And I don't know if coming into this DW game, benching your start. Now, obviously, he has to bench his starters because Dan is literally it's like Band of Brothers, where every episode somebody's getting killed off because he is just every week loses somebody. And it's not like this is the first season. Every season he's missing Pitts, he's missing Deion Jones, somebody's out. So with the opportunity to keep that 1 seed and bench everybody, I don't think there's any way he was letting that go. But the way he's kind of struggling lately, and then he's got to face you, who's coming in, big win off of Meats. Obviously it's the playoffs, so things are going to be turned up a little bit. Yep. I don't know if that was the best strategy for him. And again, we come down to that beating somebody 3 times in a season, and I don't think he does. I think you get it done this season again. There's quite a few recent games where we've seen Dan kind of struggle. He's already, defensive line's bumped up. None of my theories are working on offensive line. So I think he's reeling right now, and then taking an easy game against DW and kind of, I don't want to say tanking it, because he didn't tank it. He just played his backups like pretty much everybody else who clinched. But if there was a guy that needed to kind of find his groove before the playoffs, it may have been him. And I think that's going to hurt him. Especially having a bye. He doesn't have that game to warm up before he gets you, and I think you're going to end up beating him, and we'll see the 5 seed moving into the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't hate it. It has been fun knocking him out of the playoffs the last 2 seasons. I think if you asked me about this game 2 weeks ago, I would have said no shot. Dan's going to the bowl, not even a question about it. But he certainly has left the window open. The questions are out there the past couple weeks. He's lost, I guess, what is this now, 4 straight?
Something like that,
yeah, something like that. So it's not been pretty while he's losing them. It's not like he's losing on close plays. It's mostly been bad. So the door is open. We'll see. I certainly wouldn't mind taking him out of the playoffs again.
Yeah, I guess it's not 4 straight because he did beat Clink in week 17 to clinch the 1 seed.
Yes, he did.
Didn't look great in that game either, though.
No, he really didn't. In fact, it looked like Clink was getting ready to run away with it, and instead he threw a couple picks. But
there was that pick that really changed the game.
Yeah, well, and the fumble too, actually, because Dan gave it right back.
Yep, that's right. There was mostly 3 turnovers all in like a minute.
Yeah, the ball was just going back and forth. Nobody wanted to move the ball on offense. The fumble really was what ended up doing Clink in that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, Dan's losses all have come at the end of the season, which means all his games are still archived on Twitch. And so if you wanted the blueprint on how to beat him, they're all still there. You don't have to try and figure it out.
Yeah, you got some options to watch watch some film.
So I think that's going to be I think Dan's going to be out. And part of that is you beat him the last 2 playoffs, and I think we picked him to go to the Super Bowl with his Escape Artist, and he never has.
Yeah, we definitely did last season.
So, yeah, I feel good taking you over Dan this time. But speaking of Clink, that means we have Clink and DW facing off. This one, I'm going to actually give it to DW. I think that defensive line, again, we're going with Dan's theory that defensive line is now upgraded because his theory with offensive line didn't work. But the defensive line is playing really well. His run game is going really well. And even calling that game, Clink and Dan, I thought Dan should have stuck with the run more. It seemed like he was doing really well with that. And that's one way to stay away from his users, to just run the ball, don't throw at him. And I think DW does that really well right now. He's in a groove. He's got that confidence from beating Dan. If he gets by Pauly, that's another kind of step up in his confidence, because he lost to him twice in the regular season. And I think DW comes into that game, former number 1 and number 2 pick quarterbacks going against each other, and I think DW is going to actually walk away with it.
Yeah, this is a fun matchup. Obviously, both of my boys here. Really bad matchup for both, actually. As far as DW and passing the ball against Clink's user, and then Clink just playing offense in general against the Washington football team line. Both of them, going up against things that can negate their strengths, or not strengths, but can anticipate their weaknesses. But I think D-line play is the difference in that. I think DW is going to be able to run the ball. I think Clink can't, and that will be the difference in that if these two match up.
All right, so that's going to put DW and you in the NFC Championship game. You guys played during the regular season, but it was a computer game because you had balloon animals or something going on that you had to go to. Had your little Burger King hat on. I don't know what was going on.
It wasn't my fault. I didn't know it was coming. Yeah. I got blindfolded, and that was the end of that.
So this is the game that didn't get to happen in the regular season, and would have been a big one. I mean, had you played and you won, the entire playoffs could look different.
Yeah. Yep.
So DW probably has your mom to thank for getting his playoff spot and ended up in the NFC Championship here. But what do you think happens in the game? I personally think you're going to beat him. I don't know if DW's quite going to be able to make that kind of run through Pauly, then Clink, and then through you. So I'm going to go with you getting to your 3rd straight Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would be a fun matchup for sure. That's another team that you see on the opposite side of the schedule, and you're not too excited to play against Sweat and Allen and Young, and he's got one more too, who's a freak. Payne. Yeah, Payne. Yeah. So it's a crazy game. I think that deep in the playoffs, it comes down to passing. I will take myself against anybody else when it comes to passing, so I would take myself in that one.
All right, so then that puts we get a rematch of 2 Super Bowls ago, you and QP.
Hopefully I recover a fumble this time.
And I got to go, like you said, doing the abilities, I got to go with QP in this one. I just think Lamar he's just going to pull him out when he needs him. And I think it becomes almost impossible to stop. You do have, again, a super fast secondary, which can help you keep up with Hollywood Brown and Bateman and all those speed guys he's got, but Lamar can just run around until they get open, and then if nothing gets open, he'll just take off. And we've seen kind of the struggles you've had with escape artists this season with Dan.
That is for sure.
And now add like 11 speed to that, and you have Lamar Jackson. Yep. So I'm going to go with QP. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't think there's a fumble you don't recover. But I think QP's going to squeak it out.
Yeah, we played earlier this season. It was a good game. It was a close game. There was a play, like that. I had everything bagged. I felt good. I thought I was going to get a sack, and then Lamar took off, hit a spin. Yep. He was 50 yards down the field before I could even change my user. So he's a game changer. He's brutal to try and stop. I think last time we had this matchup, I picked myself to win, and I lost. So this time I'm going to pick Q to win, and then hopefully I win.
That's good. That's good. I like the throwing that out there to try and change things up.
Yeah, we're going to change up the juju a little bit on that one.
All right, so right now we've got Q winning his 3rd Simbardi, which would be, that would make it where nobody can beat him. As far as the Simbardi count for the season, he has a chance to at least lock himself in as tied for the most, and somebody would have to win the last 2 in order to beat him. So while we're doing that, let's talk about our folding chair meter that we have turned into a new thing here on Heat Check. And we'll start with let's start at the bottoms of the division or conferences, and we'll start with Bean. What do you think Bean's at?
Beans is again the poor guy just keeps getting matched up with Prime every single time he gets in the playoffs. Um, so I think he comes in at like a 2. I think everybody would like to see him give Prime a challenge. I think it'd be fun to watch. I think everybody thinks he can do it, but the expectation is not there that he does. So I give him a 2 folding chairs just because he keeps drawing an awful first round matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 4. I think you're right. It should be a 2, but I think he's one of those guys that kind of the narratives get to him.
Yeah.
I think the freight train thing, you're not good without it, you're tanking. I think that all kind of it just gets at him just enough that I mean he's changed the way he played based on it. I mean he stopped using
Right.
freight train in important situations. So I think it's probably a 4. But he has talked about it. He was 10-7. He's happy with that, and he doesn't want to play Prime again. And so I think it's probably around a 4.
Yeah.
So then we'll move over to the NFC, and we've got Doink. Doink, another one that I think really doesn't like the narratives. He's pointed out quite a few times about how he's actually clutch, despite the fact that every opportunity he's proven otherwise in the SML. But so I think it's probably a 7 for him.
I'm going up.
It's that's probably lowballing. If you remember the first season post blip, he was Matt's Super Bowl pick to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. And then Matt doubled down on him, and twice he's let him down. So I think the pressure is pretty high. He wants to prove that he's not Doink, basically. Despite the fact that nickname is absolutely wonderful, and I don't think we can call him anything but Doink. And
I forgot that he had a different name, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean he might as well just change his
for Dunk Face.
Yeah, he should just change his PSN to Doink Face because that's just the way it is now. But I'm gonna say 7.
Yeah, I'm going up. I'm giving him the full 10. I think it's rare that I would ever give somebody who's not considered like a Super Bowl favorite a 10. But I think for him it easily is. He guaranteed a playoff win this season. He almost didn't make it. He just barely gets in as the 7 seed. If he loses this first game, I mean, after complaining about his clutch gene rating, after complaining about his card rating, if he were to lose this game, Prime might just go out back and bury him. It might be the end.
Yeah, it very well could be. All right, so next up is me in the ASC. I'd say a 4, maybe a 5. After the Meats loss, it probably goes up a little bit, but I've pretty much moved on to Madden 23. I mean, it was just the other day I realized I'm not even looking at my team. I'm practicing with Zach Wilson to see if I like the Jets. But having lost to Meats last cycle, I definitely want to get a playoff win and maybe make a little run. But I did 4 or 5.
Yeah, I was gonna go higher with that one as well, just because I do think you want to clean off that the stench from from last playoffs. Yeah. So I'd put you up at the 7 for that. I don't think you feel. I would guess you don't feel a ton of pressure to go win another title. I don't think you're Super Bowl or bust. But I do think that as far as getting at least a playoff win, make some kind of run here, I would guess you really want to win that first game.
Yeah, that one made me feel dirty afterwards. So I'd like to get that off. Speaking of dirty, Coach P, Paulie in the NFC.
That is dirty.
It's got to be a 10. How much longer are you going to go with these playoff droughts? And I mean, I think the comparison was fair that maybe he's the new Meats. I mean, just absolutely chokes in the playoffs. We haven't seen Paulie in a Super Bowl ever, but yet he's winning divisions constantly, and so I say it's got to be up there, and I feel like it's probably getting to him. He doesn't really let on that there's pressure there, but I think there absolutely is if he's any type of competitor.
Yeah, Paulie loves playing this off. I have stuff outside of Madden. You catch me on the sidelines on Friday nights. Foz, this is not an obsession like it is for you. So he loves playing those games, but it's because when people chirp, it's getting to him.
Hmm.
He doesn't like it. He claps back every time. So I think he's feeling it. He's gonna talk it up like he's not. I can absolutely agree with a 9 or a 10. It's a winnable game. He's already beaten DW twice. If he comes out, after sweeping DW in the regular season, he chokes against him in the playoffs in round one. I just don't think it's a good look for him. We'd like to see him get a win of some kind in the playoffs in this cycle, and he's kind of running out of time to do it. So
Yeah, and him talking about he doesn't have time because of all this stuff going on. Him and Dan are the only two I know with a legitimate franchise that they could confuse with the SML enough to play half of the game before realizing they weren't in the SML. Um,
yeah, that's impressive. I did that for season one for the practice, but it got so time consuming to update. I said forget it. I deleted that thing.
yeah,
Done.
that as soon as he did that, I was like, oh, somebody's playing a little bit more than they let on.
Oh yeah.
Because he was
You
even on
you
the right
know, I mean,
week.
I haven't
Let's
seen him
not.
in chat yet today. He's
Yeah.
in the room. He's watching those DW Twitch streams.
Yep.
He saw the
Absolutely.
game against Dan today. He's ready.
Yeah. All right. So moving over to the AFC, that's going to give us Matt at the 5 seed. He's another one that does the whole Pauly thing, like, oh, I'm no good. Except Matt's made a Super Bowl. So he does have some playoff wins under his belt and made it fairly far in the playoffs. Maybe not this cycle, but last cycle he had a Super Bowl. And then he comes in. He was right there with Prime for the number 2 seed. Just happened to lose to Prime, and then that knocked him out of it. So I don't know. Again, if he says it doesn't matter to him, but I still think again, if you're any type of competitor, some of it matters to you, and so I've got him at like a 6.
Yeah, I can fully get on board with that. He's having great regular seasons. He's playing good football. We know he has it in him to beat Prime. I'd like to see him actually like do it when it matters. Um, and he'll talk about how he's given it his best shot, and like we covered in his game preview. So I think 7 is pretty accurate. I think everybody else has kind of higher expectations for him, and hopefully that kind of pushes him over the edge. I'd like to see him really give Prime a run here.
Yeah. All right, so then we'll go back to the NFC, and that's going to be you. And I actually think you're probably the highest, maybe second highest pressure, because I mean you see the Simbardi's slowly counting down. We're doing mock drafts for Madden 23. Probably 3 Simbardis left, I think. This one
Yep.
and then 2 more. So I think you can see that window closing, especially to get multiple. I'm sure you expected to have at least one by now. Um,
Yeah.
so I've got that at a 10. I think, and I don't know what it would be next cycle or next season if you don't get one, because I feel like it's just going to keep mounting. But I think right now it's got to be at a 10.
Yeah, it's been a weird cycle. I should. So when I originally took the Bills, I was like, okay, this team's really good. Josh Allen's crazy. I'm just gonna go nuts and I'm only gonna pass. I'm like literally never gonna run and not worry about it because I kind of figured like I still have like 6, 7 seasons after I have some fun for a few, and then we got blipped, which took my opportunity away to win with the Bills. Um, and then since then, a tragic NFC Championship loss on a throw out of sack, 2 Super Bowls, couldn't win either of the 2. So I feel like I've been wildly successful and completely unsuccessful at the same exact time. Uh, so it's been a bizarre cycle. I've been like happy with how it's gone while also unhappy with how it's gone. So for sure, I could put myself up there, at that 8, 9 range because I do really want to win one. I'm not going to try and pretend it doesn't mean something to me because I want to win. That's why I'm here. Um, so I would like to win one for sure. I'm happy with how the cycle's been, but I definitely want to get one of these titles.
Yeah, I can tell, and maybe you do leave it an 8 or a 9. That way, there's more room for when this one doesn't go your way either. You can keep bumping
Yeah,
it up,
I can give myself like another 2 notches so
that's
that if
right,
I don't get this one either, next season it's a 9, and the season
and
after
then
that
it's a
it's a
10.
10.
All right, fair enough on that. And then we have Woods. Uh, Woods. I think he said something on what was he on? He was on something with Prime, I think, and he said that he maybe doesn't think people will expect him to win, but he never goes into a game, expecting to lose, and always thinks he has a chance. And So I don't know if maybe there is a little bit of pressure he puts on himself, and we've definitely heard where he's left the mic on and he gets into the games.
He
So
does. I love it.
yeah, I think there's probably quite a few more guys that maybe say they don't care, but they play with a mic off too for a reason. And I'm gonna say the pressure on Woods is probably at like a 5 or a 6 just to get another playoff win. I don't think he's got one this cycle.
Yeah.
And I definitely remember one last cycle, and I think that was the only one he had. So I remember it wasn't too long ago that people were talking about Woods as a Super Bowl contender when he was the Browns, and we haven't really seen that Woods show up since. And so I think he's probably got a little bit of pressure on himself, and I put him at a 5.
Yeah, 5 was the number that came into my head immediately. So with you going with 5, I'll stick with 5. I think that's about accurate. I think everybody kind of knows, I guess, where Woods falls in, the tier list of playoff teams. I believe that was the SML Cards show that he said that on. Yeah, he's got a good team. He's been very successful with Josh Allen. I think he was second in the league in passing or third in the league in passing. His defense is what holds him back, which can really hurt you in the playoffs. It's not a great matchup, but I also don't think it's an unwinnable matchup. So, I can see him at least getting one, and it'd be nice to see Woods with a playoff win. So I think 5 is pretty accurate.
All right. So somebody that I think is probably twice as high as 5. We're gonna go with NYT. It's got to be at a 10. You have a better than a Mutt team. So, everybody's talked about, he won't take the Titans next season because Prime's in the division. I mean, it's getting to be where he's known to have weak divisions, not even by his own doing. It's just nobody, for whatever reason, goes to those divisions. He picked like 5 or 6. It's not like he chased a bad division, but he always ends up in a bad division. And now you've got, we joke about the Mutt Bucks. This is a Mutt team that really couldn't even happen in Mutt because of the abilities. And so I think there's a ton of pressure there. And I think especially to win that first game, which unfortunately for him is going to be against you, who we have going to the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
lots of pressure on NYT, I think. Now, whether or not he even plays the game, maybe the pressure gets to him and he just says, I can't even play it. I don't have time.
Oh, darn. Can't make it. Sorry.
Yeah.
See you guys.
So we'll see how that goes, but I think there's a ton of pressure there.
Yeah, it's 10 is like at the minimum. This could be like an 11, a 12. This team, like we pointed out, I mean, they are so beyond loaded. They take the Mutt Bucks and they make them kind of look like a, just whatever. So this team's crazy. And the thing is, you said it too, for NYT, it's not even necessarily to win a Super Bowl. It's like just to win a game. We haven't seen him. Have we seen him win a playoff game with the Cardinals yet?
I don't think with the Cardinals, no, because we picked him to go all the way and then he just laid an egg.
Yeah. So just to win a game with this team in the playoffs, I feel the pressure's there, let alone making it the rest of the way, which most people would expect you to do with that, set of abilities. So, yeah, 10 like at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, Dump took that Cardinals team to the Super Bowl.
If Dump's going to a Super Bowl with a team, you almost have to.
And that was before he had any of those abilities that he's got with the freight train and all that. So that'll bring us back to the AFC. D-Muse. I'm going to put D-Muse at a 7. D-Muse has been pretty vocal that he considers himself in that top tier. And I think he said last playoffs that he's never gone one and done in the playoffs until this year. And so I got to see, he said he's got to be at a 7. He's got to back it up.
Yeah. Off the rip, I think in my head it was a little lower because he had a good run last season. He took Q out. But when you said that, it did make me think that, yeah, D-Muse actually does talk a lot about his playoff success. He doesn't talk a lot in general.
Yeah.
But when he does talk, he does bring up his playoff success, and that's definitely something that he wears, as a badge of honor. So, I think I could agree with the 7, actually. I think I was going to come in a little lower originally, but you made some good points. You changed my mind. I'll take you up on 7.
All right, so next up is DW. DW guy, he's been to the playoffs a couple times. I don't think he's got a single playoff win, but he's been there. I mean, he made it with the Jets, and I think this might be his first one post-blip with Washington.
Yeah.
And the line is playing amazing. And again, whether that's the update or just the fact that he's got 4 superstars or 3 superstars and Sweat on the defensive line.
Right.
It could be a combination of both. I think there's a lot of pressure to get that one. Obviously, I don't
Hmm.
think there's pressure to get the Super Bowl, but
Right.
just to get over the hump, get a win, especially playing Paulie. It's a division rival. I mean, if you can't beat him, that's 3 times he beat you. You really lucked out getting the division because he played the computer and didn't get to play dump and forfeited that game. I mean, that was basically the difference in that division. So I think DW a lot of pressure to get A, his first win, and B, kind of prove that he was the division champ. So I'm gonna put him at like a 7 as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that first game is a big one for him. He's been vocal in chat and in conversations I've had with him about how he really wants to establish himself as, kind of in a higher tier than I think he's sometimes viewed. So I think even if the league isn't giving him much pressure, I think he's put a little bit on himself. I think he really wants to win this again, like you said, prove that he deserved that division, he deserves this spot. So yeah, I'd say 7 or 8 for the first game, and then if he gets that win, I think all the pressure kind of drops off, and from there it's house money. But for the first win, I think it's up there.
Yeah, it's funny. He sent me a DM the other day. I forget what we were talking about, and he was talking about how he's done really well lately, and he's like, I'm not trying to be cocky or anything. Like DW, if you come out and your first sentence is I'm not trying to be cocky or anything, you are. Like it's so he's definitely feeling himself and feels like he's in a good spot.
That's
But
the
now
old
you're in the
no
playoffs.
offense, but I'm about to say something really offensive.
Exactly. Yeah. No offense, but or with all due respect.
Yeah,
But
yeah. With all due respect, here's something. I'm just gonna take your soul real quick.
yeah, I don't want to sound cocky, but here I go. And so I think if you feel that way, there's a lot of pressure to get a playoff win. And if you come out and lay an egg against Paulie, who doesn't have a ton of playoff success himself,
Yeah. Yep.
that's a pressure situation right there. And I think, I mean, we even went through it. I think he's going to come through. Next up is Prime. Prime coming off his Super Bowl. He's got the 2 seed. I think there's always a decent amount of pressure just based off how much he talks. So I'm going to leave him pretty much at a constant 6 right now. He got his Super Bowl, so he's got 1. But again, QP's got 2, going for 3. Dan's in these playoffs. He's got 1, so he's going for his 2nd. I've got 1. I'm going for my 2nd. There's a lot of guys that can pull ahead of him in Super Bowl wins. And I think he wants to, every cycle he wants to have the most. So he's got to feel a little bit pressure to distance himself from the pack. And right now, QP, the 1 seed, an additional Simbardi over him. So likely the favorite to win this season. I think so. There's that little bit of pressure added on to what he's just always going to have because of how much he talks.
Yeah, normally, I'd bring the score lower after you win one. With him, it really doesn't go anywhere. If anything, he's doubled down in the amount that he's talked since he's won. So I was going to come in at an 8. He has been on a rampage of talking so far this season. He's tried to take you out of the Big Five. He's tried to replace me as Thanos. He said he's figured out Q. He's always coming at Dan. D-Muse, he started calling Sub-Muse. So, I mean, he has just been on an absolute roll. He's, trying to take down everybody in his wake. He called Matt a lapdog on a show one time.
Yeah.
So Prime's talking. Prime wants another one. He wants back-to-back. He wants to rub it in everyone's face. It's still very high for Prime. And if he loses, nobody lets him hear the end of it. So he's at an 8, I think, actually minimum, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. He talks a lot, but on the backside, he gets quite a bit if he doesn't win. So
yeah,
the pressure's pretty much always there. Next up is a guy who's said himself he didn't really expect to be here. Clink at the 2 seed. He could say he didn't expect to be here, but you kind of catch it when he's talking in chat. Sometimes he'll throw things out. He definitely feels like he's better than he gets credit for. And he may not come right out and say it, but if you kind of if you read between the lines a little bit, you can see he doesn't like that. It probably feels like he gets disrespected with where people put him in the tiers or anything like that. I think he definitely thinks he's maybe better than people give him credit for, and he won't come out and say it, but you can hear it. And so I think there's going to be pressure there, though. He's got Doink in the first round, a guy who cracks under any type of pressure, it seems. So I think for Clink, it's going to be an 8, and not just to win one. I think to at least get to the NFC Championship and maybe even get to a Super Bowl. Again, probably he won't come out and flat out say it, but I think deep down he expects to get to one.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that you said that and that you picked up on that. I was wondering if other people did, because there's definitely been a shift for Klink in the way that he talks, in the way that he feels. You can tell that he's past what he feels is the team building segment of
Hmm.
having the Lions. He feels that he's in a point where he can compete. And like you said, I think he thinks that, you know, he deserves to be viewed higher than he is. You know, he's ready to separate himself. He's ready to really establish himself in that second tier of players. So you know, I think he's up there at an 8 as well to, you know, get a win. Like you said, Doink is he's not an easy matchup, but he's also not one that you're, you know, looking at like, oh no, like this is a brutal first round. Like, you know, like you said, Doink struggled in the playoffs. We've seen obviously those narratives exist for a bit of a reason. Um, so you know, I think Klink's ready to get a win. I think he wants to see himself in the NFC Championship game. So I'm gonna roll with you with the 8 on that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely higher than he'll let on.
Yeah.
But you definitely
Yep.
hear it in that like self-deprecating sarcasm he's got. Um,
Yeah. The read between the lines is for sure there.
yeah,
Klink is he's ready to make a jump.
yeah, absolutely. Now we'll see if he can actually do it on the field. Because for a half it looked like he was gonna against Dan.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Absolutely.
so next up we'll go to the AFC and QP's got his 2. He's had some struggles lately in the playoffs. I mean, he had season 2 and season 4, I think, or season
Hmm.
2 and season 3. I can't remember. It was early on. It's been a while since we've seen him back in the Super Bowl. Um,
No, season 2 he won.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Season 2, he won, and I can't
Yep.
remember if it was season uh, 3 or 4 that he got back. I thought he had back to backs, but maybe not.
I think it was 2 and 3, and then last season he lost to Demus. Season 1 he lost to Dump. Season 4 he loses to Demus.
Yeah, and I beat him. I can't remember if it was the first season post blip or second. I think it was the first. I think it
Oh
went.
yeah, how many seasons have we done? This blip thing really messes up my
It
counting.
has. I believe this is our sixth. This will be our sixth Super Bowl.
Okay.
So it was me. It was QP,
Yep.
Dan, QP,
Yeah.
and then
Prime.
the last, yeah, and then Prime, and then this will be our sixth. So I
Yep.
think that's how it went.
Yeah.
So he's looking to get back. I think he was really disappointed he lost to D-Muse. So I think it's probably about a 7 for being a 2-time Simbardi winner. I think it's still pretty high because he's gonna know, whether he knows now or after watching this, that he's got a chance to make it where nobody can pass him in Simbardis for the cycle. So maybe we added another folding chair or two. So I'm gonna put him at a 7.
Yeah. I was originally going to come in at 6, but with that, you know, with that little stat, I think it does help. He can basically cement himself as cycle goat,
Yeah.
with 2 seasons left to play. So that's pretty impressive. Um, so I think I'll get on board with the 7. I'll come up from the 6 I was originally going to give him.
Yeah, I think it's getting a little higher, and then now after hearing this, he'll probably be even higher.
Yeah, we might be fabricating a couple extra folding chairs.
That's fine. It
might
wouldn't be
actually
the SNL
lower,
if we
but
didn't. So,
exactly. You know,
um,
that's what we're here for.
so the last one is Dan. I think Dan's at a 10.
Yeah,
He's got his one Simbardi, but he went out
it
and he
was a
got a
fluke.
Scape Artist. He admitted himself that it's the best ability in the game, and it's broken and all this. I mean, he doesn't argue that. He's got Russell Wilson, and he has no qualms with agreeing that he's one of the broken quarterbacks in the game that's borderline unstoppable, and he hasn't won a Simbardi with him. Hasn't even been to a Simbardi with him.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson, not getting any younger, could
Nope.
retire really any season now. And if this is the one, we just saw what Dan with Drew Lock looks like. So I think there's a lot of pressure here to at least get one. Same kind of situation as Prime. A guy that expects to win more than one. If we play 8 seasons, he expects to win more than just one Super Bowl. And right now, that's all he's got. And I think the pressure is high.
Yeah, I have to agree. If this is it for Russ, Dan's in a bad spot. I think he knows that, you know, he's probably cooked once Wilson retires. So to not have one with Wilson yet, and to know that if he goes, you're probably not getting another one. I know he wants to keep up with Q and Prime and the rest of us. You know, I'm just throwing myself in there and then praying to God that I get one eventually. Um, but yeah, I think he knows that without Wilson, he doesn't really have a shot at another one. So now it could be now or never. Maybe he gets one more season out of him, but we're definitely coming up to the end of the rope there.
Yeah, and I mean even now, like he's got Pitts, he's got Deion Jones. He doesn't have any injuries right now, so
I think just Grady Jarrett, which is
yeah,
a
he
pretty
did
big
lose
one.
Grady
But
Jarrett, which kind of hurts his defensive line. So maybe that'll be his excuse this season. Not that he's used the injuries as an excuse, but it just always seems to happen to him in the postseason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the pressure's there, and if Grady Jarrett this season and next season might be Russell Wilson retired. So I think it's there, and I think that's also the last team that we've got folding chairs for, unless you've got anything else.
No, I think I'm all good. This should be a fun playoff. I'm very excited to get it rolling. Starts what, 7 o'clock?
Yep, 2.5 hours. Looks like we'll have 2 games. If you want, I'm going to try and get you set up with the SML Red Zone. We'll see how that works.
I just got the message from Clink. We should be good to go for some double commentary.
All right, so 7 o'clock, double commentary, first try at SML Red Zone. So we'll see how it goes. But I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck in the playoffs, Faz, and everybody else that's out there except D-Muse. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. This has been Heat Check. We'll see you next season.